She was a member of Parliament, standing in open court, when a police sergeant's hand struck her face, the sound echoing through a room full of witnesses who suddenly pretended they saw nothing. They called it a misunderstanding, a tense moment, anything but what it was. Assault disguised as authority. The cameras conveniently malfunctioned at the exact second of impact. The system that was supposed to protect her immediately started erasing the evidence, silencing witnesses, and rewriting the story to make her the problem. But Mariah Bennett had something they didn't expect. She was a former public defender who knew how to build a case brick by brick, and she refused to let them make her invisible. What happened next wasn't revenge. It was something far more devastating. The truth, documented so precisely that even power couldn't hide from it. Subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because this story proves that dignity, when defended with patience and precision, becomes a weapon no lie can survive. Mariah Bennett arrived at the courthouse 40 minutes early. She wanted quiet before the scrutiny began. The building's stone steps gleamed wet from overnight rain. Security stopped her at the metal detector. The guard frowned at her parliamentary identification. "This expired," he said. "It's valid through December," Mariah said. Her voice was calm. "System says different." Mariah felt the familiar tightness in her chest. This was the third time this month. Aisha Grant appeared beside her with a folder and a practiced smile. "We verified it yesterday," Aisha said. "Twice." The guard shrugged. He waved them through. Mariah's jaw tightened. She understood what this was. She was not a guest. She was a member of Parliament. Yet every visit treated her presence as exceptional rather than official. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The corridor stretched long and institutional. Mariah noticed a young man watching from the clerk's station. His eyes were curious, then uncertain, then trained to look away. "You okay?" Aisha asked. "Fine," Mariah said. But she was not fine. She was tired of proving herself at every threshold, tired of absorbing small humiliations as if they were weather. Aisha touched her arm gently. Mariah breathed in. She reminded herself what her mother had taught her. Composure was armor. Dignity was a choice you made every morning. "Let's get through this," Mariah said. They walked deeper into the building. The corridor's glare felt sharper than necessary. Mariah's heels clicked against tile. She counted her breaths. 1, 2, 3. A prosecutor passed without acknowledging her. A clerk whispered to another. Mariah kept her face neutral. She had learned long ago that people watched her differently. They measured her reactions. They waited for her to confirm their assumptions. She would not give them that satisfaction. Ethan Cole stood behind the station organizing files. He glanced at Mariah. Something shifted in his expression. Curiosity, maybe. Or discomfort. He looked away quickly. Mariah felt observed and invisible at once. "Court's in session soon," Aisha said. Mariah nodded. She stepped into the waiting area. The day had barely started. Already she felt the weight of being watched. The waiting area smelled of old wood and stale coffee. Mariah sat near the window. She reviewed her notes for the hearing. Aisha scrolled through messages on her phone. A prosecutor entered. He was mid-40s, gray suit, confident stride. He spoke to his assistant without looking at Mariah. "Get me the Bennett file," he said. "The one about the traffic stop complaint." "I'm Mariah Bennett," Mariah said. Her voice was even. The prosecutor turned. His face registered surprise, then annoyance, then false courtesy. "Ah, Ms. Bennett," he said. "Member of Parliament Bennett," Mariah said. The room's temperature changed. 3 people looked up. The prosecutor's smile thinned. "Of course," he said. "My apologies." But his tone suggested no apology at all. It suggested inconvenience. Mariah felt anger rise. She pushed it down. She had learned this dance long ago. Correction without confrontation. Assertion without aggression. Ethan stood near the doorway. He heard the exchange. He heard co-workers mutter afterward. "She loves the spotlight," one said. "Always making it about her," another whispered. Ethan said nothing. He filed papers. He told himself it was not his business. Staying neutral felt safer than choosing sides. Mariah's eyes found a portrait on the wall. A white-haired judge from decades past. She wondered how many people who looked like her had ever belonged here. How many had been tolerated but never welcomed. "Don't waste your energy," Aisha said quietly. "I'm not," Mariah said. But she was. Every small battle cost something. Every correction required composure she had to manufacture. Mariah's breath caught. She felt the day pulling her toward something sharper. The corridor door opened. Sergeant Rick Doherty entered. He wore his uniform with ease. His grin was wide, familiar. He moved through the space as if he owned it. People greeted him. Handshakes, nods, small laughter that sounded like loyalty. Mariah watched him. She recognized the pattern. Power dressed as familiarity. Confidence mistaken for innocence. Doherty's eyes swept the room. They landed on Mariah. He held her gaze for a moment. Then he smiled. Mariah felt something cold settle in her stomach. Doherty worked the room with practiced charm. He clapped a colleague on the shoulder. He asked about someone's daughter. He laughed at a joke Mariah could not hear. "Morning, Rick," the prosecutor said. "Morning," Doherty said. "Ready to clean up this mess?" Mariah heard the casual entitlement in his voice. She had heard it before. Men who believed the system belonged to them. Men who treated law as a tool rather than a standard. Judge Eleanor Hart entered through the side door. She was 60. Silver hair pulled into a bun. Her face was composed. Professional. "Ms. Bennett," Judge Hart said. "Judge Hart," Mariah said. The greeting felt procedural, polite but empty. Mariah felt acknowledged without being respected. Ethan watched Doherty from across the corridor. He saw the easy confidence, the way people leaned toward him. Ethan felt the tug of admiration. Doherty seemed certain, secure. Everything Ethan was not. Then Ethan glanced at Mariah. She sat very still. Her hands were folded. Her face was neutral, but something in her stillness suggested alertness, vigilance. Ethan felt doubt creep in. He did not know why. "All rise," the bailiff called. The room stood. Mariah smoothed her jacket. Aisha gathered folders. They entered the courtroom together. Doherty followed behind. His footsteps were loud, confident. Mariah felt his presence without turning. She breathed in slowly. The air tasted metallic, institutional. Inside, the courtroom was wood and brass and careful neutrality. The judge's bench loomed high. The witness stand sat empty. Everything felt designed to diminish individual voices into procedure. Mariah took her seat. She opened her folder. She prepared herself. Doherty sat 3 rows behind her. Mariah felt the back of her neck prickle. She did not look. She would not give him that. Judge Hart entered. The bailiff announced her. Everyone stood again. "Be seated," Judge Hart said. Mariah sat. Her spine was straight. Her hands were steady. The hearing began. Words filled the air. Legal language. Procedural motions. Mariah listened carefully. She had done this work for years as a public defender. She knew how justice could be buried in formality. Aisha leaned close. She whispered a note about timing. Mariah nodded. She glanced toward Doherty once. He was watching her. His eyes were narrow, assessing. Mariah looked away first. Not from fear, from strategy. The session moved forward. Mariah braced herself as if preparing for weather. The hearing proceeded through testimony about a traffic stop complaint. A young black man had alleged excessive force. The police report said otherwise. Mariah listened. She noticed gaps, missing documentation, inconsistent timelines. "Your Honor," Mariah said. She stood. Her voice was clear. Judge Hart looked up. Her expression was neutral. "Yes, Ms. Bennett." "The police conduct report references body camera footage," Mariah said. "That footage is not included in discovery." The prosecutor shuffled papers. He looked annoyed. "It's standard procedure," he said. "The footage exists. We'll provide it." "When?" Mariah asked. "In due course." Mariah felt anger tighten her throat. She kept her tone measured. "Due process requires timely disclosure," she said. "This case involves serious allegations. The footage is material." Judge Hart glanced at the prosecutor, then at Mariah, then at her notes. "The objection is noted," Judge Hart said. "Counsel will provide the footage by end of week." She moved on. Too fast, as if correctness mattered less than efficiency. Mariah sat down. Aisha scribbled notes. She was already anticipating how this would be framed. Mariah the troublemaker. Mariah who made everything difficult. Ethan watched from his station near the side door. He saw Judge Hart's quick dismissal. He told himself it was not his place to judge. He was a clerk. He followed rules. He did not question authority. But something about the exchange unsettled him. Doherty's eyes narrowed. Mariah felt his irritation without looking. This was his room, his colleagues, his version of order. She had questioned that order publicly. During the break, Mariah approached the clerk's window. She needed the proper form to request records formally. "I need a discovery request form," she said. Ethan looked up. His hands were shaking slightly. "Yes, ma'am," he said. He found the form. He handed it to her. Their eyes met briefly. Mariah saw something in his face. Uncertainty, maybe. Or recognition. "Thank you," she said. "You're welcome," Ethan said. Aisha joined her. They filled out the form together. Doherty passed too close. Close enough that Mariah smelled his aftershave. Citrus and something sharp. He leaned in slightly. His voice was low. "Know when to stop," he said. It was not advice. It was a warning. Mariah did not respond. Her restraint felt heavy. Physical. She handed the form to Ethan without acknowledging Doherty. Aisha pulled her away gently. "Don't provoke him," Aisha whispered. "I didn't," Mariah said. But she understood the truth. Her mere presence provoked him. Her refusal to be silent provoked him. Mariah glanced back. Doherty was watching her, measuring her. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. The courthouse corridor was all marble and echo. Mariah waited near the water fountain. Aisha stood beside her reviewing emails. "They're already spinning this," Aisha said. 3 calls from reporters asking if you're grandstanding." Mariah felt tired. The word was familiar. Black women who spoke were always grandstanding, never advocating, never serving. "Tell them I'm doing my job," Mariah said. "I did," Aisha said. "They'll write what they want anyway." Ethan organized files at the clerk's window. He glanced toward Mariah. He wanted to tell her something, that he had seen the missing footage listed in the internal system, that it had been marked routine and then unavailable within the same week. But he said nothing. Rules felt safer than truth. Doherty appeared again. He moved through the corridor with territorial ease. He nodded at colleagues. He smiled at a young lawyer. Then he walked past Mariah. Too close. Deliberate. Mariah did not move. She held her ground, Her chest tightened. Doherty paused. He turned slightly. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," he said. His voice was conversational, almost kind, but the threat underneath was clear. "I'm following procedure," Mariah said. "Procedure has limits," Doherty said. Mariah's hands clenched. She felt rage climb her throat, hot, immediate. She swallowed it down. "So does patience," she said quietly. Doherty's smile thinned. He leaned closer, not touching, just invading space. "Be careful," he said. Then he walked away. His footsteps echoed down the corridor. Aisha grabbed Mariah's elbow. "Don't engage," she said. "That's exactly what he wants." "I know," Mariah said. But knowing did not make restraint easier. Mariah carried the weight of unsaid words inside her coat, heavy as stone. Ethan watched the exchange from his station. His heart was pounding. He saw how easily intimidation could wear a smile, how threats could sound like concern. He looked down at his files. He told himself it was not his fight, but guilt settled in his stomach anyway. Mariah turned toward the courtroom. Judge Hart was calling the session back. Mariah breathed in. She smoothed her jacket. She prepared herself again. Doherty was already inside, sitting, waiting. Mariah walked through the door. She felt his eyes on her back. She did not turn. She would not give him that satisfaction. But she felt measured, assessed, targeted. The session resumed. Mariah sat with perfect posture. Her face was calm. Inside she counted breaths. 1, 2, 3. Aisha whispered updates. Mariah nodded. She focused on the testimony. She noted discrepancies. She built her case brick by brick. Doherty watched her from behind. Mariah felt his gaze. Persistent. Cold. She did not look back. The session moved into procedural confusion about seating arrangements. A security officer mentioned space limitations near the witness stand. Judge Hart asked Mariah to shift her position temporarily. Mariah stood. She gathered her folder. She moved toward the indicated seat. Doherty stood at the same moment. He stepped into her path. His movement was sudden, deliberate. "Security protocol," he said. Mariah stopped. They were too close. She could see the buttons on his uniform, smell his aftershave again. "Excuse me," Mariah said. Doherty did not move. His hand rose, fast, precise. The slap was loud in the silence. Mariah's head snapped sideways. Pain bloomed across her cheek. Hot, humiliating. The room became a held breath. Mariah's first instinct was rage. Pure, fierce. It frightened her with its clarity. She wanted to strike back. She wanted to scream. She wanted to shatter the careful composure she had carried for decades. Instead, she placed one hand on the table, steadying herself. Her jaw throbbed. She tasted blood. The courtroom was frozen. 20 people. Silent. Watching. Mariah turned to Judge Hart. Her voice was controlled, measured. Each word cost her something. "I request this incident be entered into the record," she said. Judge Hart's face went pale. Then red. Then carefully neutral. She hesitated, as if decorum mattered more than harm. "Let's take a brief recess," Judge Hart said. "Your Honor," Mariah said, "I request it be entered now." The silence stretched. Ethan Cole stood against the wall. His stomach dropped. He had just witnessed violence disguised as authority. He had watched a decorated sergeant strike a member of Parliament, and he had watched the room hesitate. Aisha was already on her feet. Her voice was sharp. "This is assault," Aisha said, "in open court." Doherty stepped back. His face was calm, almost bored. "She was in a restricted area," he said. "I was enforcing protocol." Mariah looked at him. His lie was smooth, practiced. She understood then. This was not impulse. This was calculated. Judge Hart cleared her throat. "We'll address this after recess," she said. "Now," Mariah said. Her voice was steady. "Enter it now." Judge Hart met her eyes. For the first time, Mariah saw discomfort. Maybe shame. "Noted," Judge Hart said quietly. The bailiff called recess. People began to move. Whispers filled the air. Mariah stood still. Her cheek burned. Her hands trembled. She tasted blood and dignity at the same time. She did not know which would last longer. Outside the courtroom, Mariah's face throbbed. She touched her cheek gently. It was hot, swelling already. A court administrator approached. His smile was apologetic, meaningless. "Ms. Bennett," he said, "I'm sure this was a misunderstanding." "It was assault," Mariah said. "Emotions run high in these settings," he said. "Perhaps we can resolve this quietly." Mariah stared at him. She understood what he was offering. Silence in exchange for comfort. Erasure dressed as civility. "No," she said. Aisha appeared with ice wrapped in paper towels. She pressed it to Mariah's face. "We're filing a complaint," Aisha said. "Immediately." The administrator's face tightened. "That might complicate things," he said. "Good," Aisha said. Judge Hart emerged from chambers. She looked tired, uncomfortable. She approached Mariah carefully. "This is unfortunate," Judge Hart said. "This is criminal," Mariah said. Judge Hart flinched. She glanced around. People were watching, listening. "Perhaps we can discuss this privately," Judge Hart said. "Why?" Mariah asked. "So it disappears?" Judge Hart's voice was quiet, almost pleading. "I'm trying to maintain order," she said. "Order?" Mariah said. "I was struck in your courtroom. What order protects that?" Judge Hart had no answer. She returned to chambers. The door closed softly. Aisha pulled Mariah toward a private room. Once inside, she locked the door. Her anger was precise, controlled. "They're going to blame you," Aisha said. "They'll say you provoked him. They'll say you were confrontational." "I know," Mariah said. "We need to get ahead of this," Aisha said. Mariah lowered the ice. Her cheek was dark red, tender. She looked at herself in the mirror, on the wall. She saw a woman who had been struck. She saw a public servant humiliated. She saw someone the system expected to accept harm quietly. Ethan stood in the corridor. His heart was hammering. He had watched officials speak in soft tones. He had watched them try to swallow what they had witnessed. He went to the restroom. He washed his hands, then washed them again. As if guilt were physical. Mariah returned to the waiting area. Aisha was already drafting a formal complaint. Her fingers moved fast across her phone. "Are you sure?" Aisha asked. "This will get ugly." Mariah felt an old shame creeping in, an accusation she had carried since childhood, that her dignity was negotiable, that speaking up made her the problem. She looked at the courtroom door. She thought about all the people who had been struck, threatened, silenced. All the people who had accepted harm because fighting back cost too much. Mariah felt something shift inside her. Not certainty, not confidence, just refusal. A refusal to let this story be erased. "I'm sure," she said. That evening, Mariah sat in her parliamentary office, ice pressed against her cheek. Aisha read comments aloud from social media. They had started already. She was out of line, playing the victim again. Probably deserved it. Mariah closed her eyes. The words hurt more than the slap, because words revealed what people really believed. Her phone rang. "Pastor Samuel Reed," Mariah answered. "I heard," he said. His voice was low, steady. It's already spinning, Mariah said. Of course it is, Pastor Reed said. Truth is always spun when it threatens comfort. Mariah felt tears prick her eyes. She did not cry. She had learned long ago that tears were used against her. I don't know if I can do this, she said. You can, Pastor Reed said. But not for applause, not for vindication, for the next person who walks into that building expecting dignity. Mariah breathed in. The pain in her jaw was sharp, constant. Restraint isn't surrender, Pastor Reed said, and justice is a long road, one honest step at a time. They spoke for 20 minutes. He did not tell her what to do. He reminded her who she was. When Mariah hung up, she felt steadier, not certain, but grounded. An email arrived. Lila Park, investigative journalist. The message was brief. I've been following Dougherty's career. This isn't his first misunderstanding. Let's talk. Mariah stared at the screen. She felt something shift, a crack in the wall. Aisha placed the formal complaint form on the desk. It was typed, professional, ready for her signature. Last chance to walk away, Aisha said gently. Mariah picked up the pen. Her hand was steady. She signed her name. We're not walking away, Mariah said. Aisha nodded. She took the form. She prepared to file it. Across the city, Ethan sat in his small apartment. He washed his hands at the sink. Once, twice, 3 times. He could not stop seeing Mariah's face. Could not stop hearing the sound of the slap. He had said nothing. Done nothing. He had watched justice fail in real time. Ethan dried his hands. He stared at his reflection. He looked away. Mariah sat alone in her office. The ice had melted. Her cheek ached. She thought about all the roads that had led here, all the times she had chosen silence for safety, all the times restraint had felt like survival. Tonight she was choosing something different. Not revenge, not spectacle, just a refusal to let harm be invisible. She turned off her desk lamp. She gathered her things. She walked out into the night. The path ahead would cost her comfort. Maybe her career. Maybe her safety. But it might restore something larger than her pride. It might tell one truth the system could not erase. Mariah locked her office door. She descended the stone steps. She felt fear and purpose at once. She had made her choice. The next morning, news coverage arrived pre-packaged. Mariah watched 3 different channels frame the slap as a tense moment in a heated exchange. One commentator called her provocative. Another questioned her judgment. No one used the word assault. Aisha sat across from Mariah's desk. She was drafting a statement. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard. We keep it factual, Aisha said. No emotion, no blame, just what happened. They'll twist it anyway, Mariah said. Probably, Aisha said, but we control our version. Mariah's cheek was bruised, dark purple spreading to yellow. She had covered it with makeup that morning, then wiped it off. She would not hide what had been done to her. Her phone buzzed, a message from Lila Park. They had agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near Parliament. Mariah arrived 15 minutes early. Lila was already there. She was mid-40s, sharp eyes, notebook on the table. Ms. Bennett, Lila said. Mariah said. They ordered coffee. Lila studied Mariah's face, not with pity, with assessment. She saw a person and a headline at once. What do you want from this? Lila asked. The question surprised Mariah. She expected reporters to ask what happened, not why it mattered. I want the truth on record, Mariah said. The word surprised her too. She had not articulated it before, but saying it aloud made something solidify in her spine. Lila wrote in her notebook. Her handwriting was fast, precise. Dougherty has a reputation, Lila said. Complaints that went nowhere. settlements that came with silence. Mariah felt her chest tighten. This was not an isolated incident. This was a pattern. "Can you prove it?" Mariah asked. "Working on it," Lila said, "but I need more than rumors." "So do I," Mariah said. Lila looked up. Her eyes found Mariah's. Something shifted in her expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. "Then we'll find it," Lila said. Mariah returned to Parliament under cameras that watched like hungry birds. Reporters shouted questions. She did not answer. She walked past them with measured steps. Inside, colleagues offered sympathy that sounded like warnings. One senior MP stopped her in the corridor. "Terrible situation," he said, "but maybe it's time to move forward." Mariah felt anger rise. Move forward meant forget, meant accept. "I am moving forward," Mariah said, "by pursuing justice." The MP's face tightened. He walked away without responding. Aisha met her at her office door. She had a list: formal steps, inquiry requests, oversight pathways, press strategy, witness outreach. "This is going to consume everything," Aisha said. "I know," Mariah said. She took the list. She felt the weight of what she was choosing, not just a complaint, a campaign, a fight. But the truth needed a voice, and she would be that voice. In Parliament, the senior MP who had urged Mariah to move forward spoke during question period. His tone was conciliatory, concerned. "We must maintain public confidence in our institutions," he said, "even when individuals feel aggrieved." Mariah sat in her seat. She understood the code. Individuals meant her. Aggrieved meant unreasonable. Another colleague leaned toward her during the break. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be," she whispered. "He struck me in open court," Mariah said. "How small should it be?" The colleague looked uncomfortable. She moved away. Mariah felt humiliation transform into clarity. This was not just about one slap. This was about who was expected to absorb harm quietly, who was expected to shrink. After session, Mariah met with Aisha in a conference room. Aisha spread documents across the table. "Formal inquiry request," Aisha said. "Independent review of courthouse security protocols. Complaint escalation to Oversight Board." "All of it," Mariah said. "This will take months," Aisha said. "Maybe longer." "Then we start now," Mariah said. Aisha's voice was quiet, careful. "They're going to come after you," she said. "Your record, your credibility, everything." Mariah felt tired, but she also felt something harder. Determination. "Let them," she said. At the courthouse, Ethan overheard staff in the break room. They were laughing. The sound made his stomach hurt. "She finally got checked," one said. "About time someone put her in her place," another said. Ethan stood by the coffee machine. He poured a cup he did not want. He realized laughter could be violence, too, could be complicity. He thought about saying something, defending Mariah, correcting the narrative. Instead, he left the room. Silence felt safer than confrontation. But guilt followed him back to his desk. Heavy, persistent. That evening, Mariah drafted a petition for an independent inquiry. She outlined the incident, the erasure attempt, the pattern of intimidation. Her hands moved across the keyboard. Each sentence was deliberate, factual. She was building a case the way she had as a public defender, one detail at a time. Aisha called. "3 more outlets want interviews," she said. "Schedule them," Mariah said. "You sure?" Mariah looked at her bruised reflection in the window. She felt anger and purpose. They were not opposites. They were fuel. "I'm sure," she said. She returned to typing. The petition grew longer, more detailed. She included timestamps, witness names, legal citations. This was not emotion. This was precision. Outside her window, the city lights glowed. Mariah worked until midnight. Her jaw ached, her eyes burned. But she felt something she had not felt in days. Agency. The belief that her voice might matter. She saved the document. She sent it to Aisha for review. Then she sat in the dark office, breathing, preparing herself for what came next. Aisha arrived at Mariah's office early. Her face was tight, angry. "The courtroom cameras malfunctioned," she said. Mariah looked up from her notes. Her stomach dropped. "When?" she asked. "Exactly when you were struck," Aisha said. "The footage doesn't exist." The explanation had come from the courthouse technical office. Equipment failure. Unfortunate timing. These things happen. Mariah felt sick. How normal corruption could look when it wore a uniform, when it spoke in administrative language. "They're erasing it," Mariah said. "Or they already did," Aisha said. Mariah's hands tightened around her pen. She felt rage climb her throat. Hot. Immediate. "We need the equipment log," Mariah said. "Maintenance records. Access history." "I'm on it," Aisha said. At the courthouse, Ethan searched the equipment log. He told himself it was routine work, part of his job, not an investigation. But his hands shook as he scrolled through entries. He found discrepancies, times that did not match, access codes that should not have been used. Someone had logged into the camera system 20 minutes before the slap. Someone with administrative clearance. Ethan's breath caught. He stared at the screen. He knew what this meant. This was not malfunction. This was tampering. He thought about copying the file, taking it to someone. Anyone. Instead, he closed the program. He returned to filing papers. His supervisor passed by. She smiled. "Everything okay, Ethan?" she asked. "Fine," he said. His voice was too loud. She walked away. Ethan sat very still. He felt like a coward. Judge Eleanor Hart received calls that afternoon. 3 from police leadership, 1 from the mayor's chief of staff. They all used the same language. Public confidence. Order. Perspective. Judge Hart understood what they were asking. Let this disappear. Maintain relationships. Protect the system. She hung up the last call. She stared at her desk. For 30 years, she had believed in procedure, in neutrality, in letting rules decide outcomes. But neutrality felt different now. It felt like choosing sides by refusing to choose. That evening, Mariah met Pastor Samuel Reed at his church. The building was empty. Chairs sat in neat rows. Silent witnesses. "They're erasing the evidence," Mariah said. Pastor Reed nodded. His face was sad but not surprised. "They always do," he said. "When you pursue justice, people who benefited from silence will call you the problem." Mariah felt tears threaten. She blinked them back. "What if I can't prove it?" she asked. "Then you document what you can," Pastor Reed said, "and you refuse to let them make you doubt what happened." Mariah left the church feeling steadier, not hopeful, but grounded. She called Aisha. "Broaden the complaint," Mariah said. "Make this about a pattern, not just one incident." "You're sure?" Aisha asked. "If they erased one moment," Mariah said, "I'll document 10. Lila Park called Mariah 3 days later. Her voice was careful, controlled. "I found sealed settlements," Lila said. 3 in the past 5 years, all tied to Doherty's unit. Mariah felt her chest tighten. This was bigger than her, wider, deeper. "Can you name the victims?" Mariah asked. "They signed NDAs," Lila said, "but one agreed to speak off the record. She said intimidation was standard. That complaint's disappeared." Mariah met with a community legal clinic. The director was a black woman in her 60s. Her name was Dr. Frances Cole. She had been fighting these battles for decades. "We have files," Dr. Cole said. Residents who described threats, stops without cause, violence that never made it to court. Why didn't they report it? Mariah asked. Dr. Cole's smile was sad. They did, she said. No one believed them. Mariah felt anger and grief at once. How many people had been harmed? How many silenced? I need their stories, Mariah said. I'll ask, Dr. Cole said. But they're scared, and they have reason to be. That night, Ethan sat in his apartment. The copied equipment log was on a USB drive in his desk drawer. He had copied it during his lunch break. His fingers had trembled the entire time. He stared at the drawer. He knew what he was holding. Evidence. Proof of tampering. But giving it to someone meant exposing himself, losing his job. Maybe worse. Ethan went to bed. He did not sleep. He stared at the ceiling. He felt shame like a physical weight. Aisha met with the oversight office. 2 administrators listened politely. They took notes. They offered no commitments. We'll review the materials, one said. When? Aisha asked. In due course. Aisha left with polite smiles and no actual help. She called Mariah from her car. They're stalling, she said. Of course they are, Mariah said. We keep pushing. At home that night, Mariah stood in front of her bathroom mirror. The bruise on her cheek was fading. Yellow now, almost gone. But the humiliation was not gone. The violation was not gone. Mariah touched her face gently. She felt grief like a low hum, constant, exhausting. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Cole. 2 residents had agreed to speak. They would meet tomorrow. Mariah felt something shift. Not hope, exactly, but possibility. She washed her face. She went to bed. She did not sleep easily, but she slept with purpose. Across the city, Ethan looked at his desk drawer again. The USB drive sat inside, small, heavy. He closed the drawer. He told himself he would decide tomorrow, but tomorrow kept arriving, and the drive stayed hidden. The tabloid headline appeared Tuesday morning. Bold, vicious. MP staged incident for attention, sources say. Mariah read it in her office. Aisha stood beside her. Neither spoke for a long moment. The article cited anonymous courthouse sources. It questioned Mariah's credibility. It implied she had provoked Doherty deliberately. They're doing exactly what we expected, Aisha said. Knowing doesn't make it easier, Mariah said. Outside Parliament, strangers shouted at Mariah. One called her a liar. Another said she was dividing the country. Mariah kept walking. Her face was neutral. Inside her chest tightened. That evening she sat alone and read online comments. Aisha had told her not to, but Mariah needed to know what she was up against. She's always playing victim. Cry me a river. Typical race baiter. Mariah felt the familiar fear. The world preferred a lie that kept power comfortable. Truth was messy, inconvenient. She closed her laptop. She breathed slowly. 1, 2, 3. Lila called. Don't read the comments, she said. Too late, Mariah said. Focus on the record, Lila said. Records outlast opinions. Mariah wrote that down. Records outlast opinions. She would repeat it until she believed it. Judge Eleanor Hart tried to maintain neutrality. She reviewed filings. She attended meetings. She told herself procedure was enough. But at night she watched news coverage. She saw Mariah's face twisted into caricature. She saw truth distorted until it looked like manipulation. Judge Hart felt something unfamiliar. Complicity. Her silence was not neutral. It was protection. Protection of a system that had failed. She did not know what to do with that awareness. So she filed it away. Like everything else. At the courthouse, colleagues stopped talking when Ethan entered rooms. He understood why. They knew he had been there. They knew what he had seen. His supervisor called him into her office. "People are asking questions," she said. Her voice was kind. "About what you saw." "I saw what everyone saw," Ethan said. "Good," she said. "That's the right answer." Ethan left her office feeling dirty. The right answer. As if truth had versions. That night, Mariah received an envelope under her office door. No return address. Inside was a single printed photo. Mariah leaving the courthouse the day of the slap. Her face bruised, her expression tired. Across the photo, someone had written in red marker, "Stop." Mariah stared at it. Her hands shook. This was not just disagreement. This was threat. She called Aisha. "I'm getting threatening messages," Mariah said. Aisha's voice was tight. "We're filing a police report," she said. "From the same police department?" Mariah asked. The silence stretched. Both women understood the irony. "We still file it," Aisha said. "For the record." Mariah placed the photo in a folder. She labeled it, dated it. She was building a case, evidence by evidence, but her hands still shook. Fear was physical. Real. She locked her office. She walked to her car under streetlights that felt too dim. Someone was watching. She could feel it. Or maybe she was imagining it. Either way, the message was clear. Stop. Disappear. Accept the story they were writing. Mariah started her car. She drove home carefully. She checked her rearview mirror too often. At home, she locked every door. She closed every curtain. Then she sat in the dark, breathing, refusing to let fear become surrender. Aisha tracked down a courthouse cleaner named Mrs. Delaney. She was 63, Jamaican accent, tired eyes. They met in a coffee shop far from the courthouse. Mrs. Delaney's hands shook as she stirred sugar into her tea. "I saw someone near the camera panel," she said. Her voice was barely audible. "When?" Aisha asked. "That morning, before the session." "Who?" Mariah asked. Mrs. Delaney looked around. She was terrified of being seen, being identified. "One of the technical staff," she said. "He looked nervous, like he was doing something wrong." "Would you recognize him?" Mariah asked. "Yes," Mrs. Delaney said. "But I can't lose my job. I can't lose my housing." Her voice broke. Mariah felt her throat tighten. This woman was risking everything, just by sitting here. "I understand," Mariah said gently. Mariah was not speaking as an MP now. She was speaking as a woman who understood the cost of being disbelieved, of being vulnerable. "If I speak," Mrs. Delaney said, "they'll come for me. They'll say I'm lying. They'll fire me." "I won't abandon you," Mariah said. Mrs. Delaney's eyes found Mariah's. Something shifted in her expression. Hope fighting fear. "You promise?" she asked. "I promise," Mariah said. They spoke for an hour. Mrs. Delaney described what she saw, the time, the location, the man's behavior. Aisha took notes, careful, detailed. When they left, Mrs. Delaney looked smaller, frightened. She walked away quickly, as if being seen with them was dangerous. Mariah watched her go. She felt protective, responsible. Ethan saw Mrs. Delaney at the courthouse the next day. She cleaned the corridor near his station. He recognized her from years of passing in silence. He noticed she looked nervous. Her hands trembled as she emptied trash bins. Ethan wanted to tell her something, that he understood, that he was scared too. Instead, he nodded politely. She nodded back. Both carrying secrets. That evening, Doherty appeared in a televised interview. He sat relaxed, confident. His uniform was crisp. "I've dedicated my life to maintaining order," he said. "Sometimes that means making difficult decisions." The interviewer asked about the slap. Doherty smiled. Sad. Almost regretful. It was a tense moment, he said. Security protocols exist for a reason. I was doing my job. His tone was calculated, reasonable. He was performing innocence. Mariah watched from her office. She felt rage build. He was rewriting the story, making himself the victim. Aisha sat beside her. He's good at this, Aisha said. So are we, Mariah said. But inside she felt doubt creeping. What if his version was more believable? What if people chose comfort over truth? Her phone rang. Mrs. Delaney. Her voice was shaking. I'll testify, Mrs. Delaney said. Mariah's breath caught. Are you sure? Mariah asked. No, Mrs. Delaney said, but I'm doing it anyway. Then she asked the question that broke Mariah's heart. Will you still be there when they come for me? Mariah closed her eyes. She felt the weight of that promise. Yes, she said. I will. When she hung up, Mariah sat very still. She had just accepted responsibility for another person's safety, another person's livelihood. Aisha touched her shoulder. We protect her, Aisha said. How? Mariah asked. However we can, Aisha said. Mariah prepared for the preliminary hearing in her office. Papers spread across her desk, timelines, access logs, witness statements. She was not approaching this as an MP. She was approaching it as a former public defender who had built cases from fragments, who had learned how truth broke lies. Aisha watched her work. Mariah's focus was absolute, precise. You're different, Aisha said. I'm remembering who I was, Mariah said. She mapped contradictions. Doherty said he was responding to security concerns, but the access log showed the camera system was compromised before any concern existed. The maintenance report listed routine malfunction. But Mrs. Delaney saw someone tampering with the panel. Those facts could not both be true. Mariah built the timeline minute by minute. She cross-referenced statements. She identified gaps. She found the language of cover-ups. At the courthouse, Ethan walked past Aisha in the corridor. He slipped a folded note into her hand without stopping. His heart pounded. Aisha opened it later. 3 words. Not an accident. She showed it to Mariah that evening. He's taking a risk, Aisha said. So are we, Mariah said. Judge Hart read Mariah's filings late that night. She sat in her chambers with tea that had gone cold. The precision surprised her. Every claim was sourced. Every timeline was documented. This was not emotion. This was legal craftsmanship. Judge Hart felt something shift. Reluctant respect. Uncomfortable awareness. Mariah was not just a victim demanding justice. She was a trained advocate who knew how to dismantle lies systematically. Judge Hart closed the file. She stared at her desk. She had spent decades believing. Procedure protected everyone equally, but procedure only protected those who controlled it, those who knew how to use it. The next morning, Mariah met with Lila Park. Lila had found 2 more settlements. Both involved excessive force. Both included NDAs. There's a pattern, Lila said. Can you publish? Mariah asked. Not yet, Lila said, but soon. Mariah returned to her timeline. She added the new information. The case was building, slowly, carefully. Her hidden strength was not status, not public sympathy. It was patience, the ability to build truth brick by brick without losing her humanity. That evening, Mariah placed Ethan's note beside her complaint. She felt leverage shift, not certainty, but possibility. She was no longer just defending herself. She was constructing something larger, a case that would force people to see what they had ignored. Aisha entered with coffee. You should rest, she said. Not yet, Mariah said. Her voice was calm, determined. She was doing what she had been trained to do, what she had forgotten she could do. She was fighting back with the law, with evidence, with truth documented so precisely it could not be ignored. Judge Hart sat in her chambers. She thought about Mariah's filings, about the care in each sentence. Something uncomfortable settled in her chest. Respect and shame. She had dismissed Mariah too quickly, had assumed emotion rather than strategy. Judge Hart opened the file again. She read more carefully this time. And she began to see what Mariah was building. The Oversight Office announced a limited inquiry. The statement used careful language. Review of procedures. Commitment to fairness. It was just enough to look responsive, not enough to threaten power. Cameras captured Mariah's statement outside Parliament. Her voice was steady, composed. "This is a step toward accountability," she said. Reporters shouted questions. Mariah answered 3, then walked away with dignity. For a brief moment, public opinion tilted toward her. Comments online shifted. Maybe she's telling the truth. This deserves investigation. Mariah felt hope flare. Fragile. Tentative. That night, her phone rang. Aisha's voice was urgent. "It's Mrs. Delaney," she said. Mariah's stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Someone visited her home," Aisha said. "Warned her about making trouble." Mariah heard crying in the background. Mrs. Delaney's voice, terrified. "Is she safe?" Mariah asked. "For now," Aisha said, "but she's scared, really scared." Mariah's hands tightened around the phone. This was retaliation, intimidation, everything she had promised to protect Mrs. Delaney from. "I'm coming," Mariah said. She drove to Mrs. Delaney's apartment. Aisha was already there. Mrs. Delaney sat on her couch, small, shaking. "They know," Mrs. Delaney said. "They know I talked to you." "Who came?" Mariah asked. "A man," Mrs. Delaney said. "He didn't threaten me directly, just asked if I was sure about what I saw, said mistakes can be costly." Mariah felt rage and helplessness at once. She wanted to protect this woman. But how? "We'll file a report," Aisha said. "No," Mrs. Delaney said. Her voice was sharp. "That makes it worse. You don't understand. I can't fight them." The silence stretched. Mariah understood then. Protection was not just about law. It was about power. And Mrs. Delaney had none. "I'm sorry," Mariah said quietly. Mrs. Delaney looked at her. Her eyes were wet. "Are you?" she asked. "Or are you sorry you need me?" The question hit hard. Truthful. Painful. Mariah had no answer. She stayed with Mrs. Delaney until midnight. They spoke little. Mariah's presence was all she could offer. When she left, Mrs. Delaney walked her to the door. "I'll still testify," she said. Her voice was small but determined. "You don't have to," Mariah said. "Yes, I do," Mrs. Delaney said, "because if I don't, they win, and I'm tired of them winning." Mariah drove home with tears on her face. Hope felt threatened now, like a candle trembling in wind. At the courthouse, Ethan arrived for his shift. His supervisor met him at the door. "You're being reassigned," she said. "Why?" Ethan asked. "Administrative needs," she said. Her smile was apologetic. "You'll be working in the archives, starting Monday." Ethan understood. This was punishment, for the note, for witnessing, for existing too close to truth. "For how long?" he asked. "Indefinitely," she said. He cleaned out his desk that afternoon. Colleagues avoided eye contact. Everyone knew what reassignment meant. Mariah received a call from Aisha late that night. "Ethan was moved," Aisha said. "They're isolating us," Mariah said. "Yes," Aisha said. Mariah sat in her dark office. She felt hope and dread fighting inside her chest. The inquiry was happening. but the cost was rising. Mrs. Delaney was frightened, Ethan was punished, and the system was tightening around them. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The line just went dead. Then nothing. Mariah stared at the screen. Mrs. Delaney's phone had been cut off. She tried calling. No connection. Fear climbed her throat. Cold. Immediate. Mariah grabbed her keys. She drove to Mrs. Delaney's apartment. No answer at the door. She called Aisha. They searched hospitals, shelters. Nothing. Mrs. Delaney had vanished. The morning of the inquiry's key session, Mariah arrived early. She sat in the waiting room watching the door. Mrs. Delaney was supposed to arrive at 9. 9 came, then 9:15, then 9:30. Mariah's throat tightened. She called Mrs. Delaney's phone. No connection. She called the landlord. No answer. Aisha paced the corridor. Her professionalism was thinning into panic. She called hospitals, shelters, police stations. Nothing, Aisha said. Her voice was tight. Lila Park appeared. She had been monitoring police communications. Her face was grim. Spokespeople are already seeding the story, Lila said. They're calling your witness unreliable, unstable. Mariah felt dread climb her throat. They were planting the narrative before truth could speak. They made her disappear, Mariah said. We don't know that, Aisha said. But they both knew. The timing was too perfect, too cruel. Ethan sat in the archive room, his new post. He stared at boxes of old files. He heard about Mrs. Delaney's absence through whispered conversations in the hallway. He understood what had happened. Power did not need to strike twice. It just needed to isolate you, silence you, make you vanish. His hands shook. He had given Mariah that note. He had thought it would help. Now Mrs. Delaney was gone, and it was partly his fault. The bailiff called the session to order. Mariah stood. Her legs felt unsteady. Ms. Bennett, the inquiry chair said, is your witness present? No, Mariah said. Do you wish to proceed without her? Mariah felt the room tilt. Everything depended on Mrs. Delaney's testimony, the camera tampering, the timeline, the proof that this was not accident. Without her, Mariah had documents, contradictions, but no human voice to make it real. I request a postponement, Mariah said. The chair glanced at his notes, then at Doherty's lawyers. They smiled slightly. Granted, the chair said. 1 week. Mariah walked out. Aisha followed. Neither spoke until they reached the parking lot. She's not coming back, Aisha said. I know, Mariah said. Mariah drove to Mrs. Delaney's apartment. She knocked, no answer. She asked neighbors. No one had seen her in 2 days. That evening, Mariah sat alone. She stared at the empty witness statement on her desk. She had promised Mrs. Delaney protection. She had failed. The floor tilted beneath her. Hope felt fragile now. Breaking. 1 week later, Mariah walked into the inquiry without her witness. The room felt colder, emptier. Doherty's lawyers presented first. They framed the slap as minor contact during heightened security concerns. Sergeant Dougherty acted within protocol, the lead lawyer said. Ms. Bennett was in a restricted area. He responded appropriately. Mariah listened. The lie was smooth, practiced. Her turn came. She presented the access log, the timeline contradictions, the maintenance report inconsistencies. But gaps remained. Without Mrs. Delaney, the camera tampering was just theory, possibility rather than proof. The inquiry chair listened politely. His face was neutral, but Mariah sensed him leaning toward convenience. These are serious allegations, the chair said, but without corroborating testimony. His voice trailed off. The implication was clear. Documents were not enough. Not against a decorated sergeant. Mariah felt the room shift away from her. Truth was strangling, and no one was raising their voice. Judge Hart observed from the back. She sat very still, torn between procedure and conscience. She watched Mariah fight alone, watched the room dismiss careful evidence because it was inconvenient. Judge Hart felt something uncomfortable. Complicity. Her silence was not neutral. It was choosing sides. Outside, protesters gathered. Some held signs supporting Mariah. Others held signs against her. Liar. Race baiter. Justice for Doherty. Mariah heard them through the windows. She felt herself becoming a symbol, not a person, a headline. That night she sat in her office. She removed her earrings with shaking hands. Exhaustion made her doubt her own worth. Aisha entered quietly. "You fought well today," she said. "I lost," Mariah said. "Not yet," Aisha said, but her voice lacked conviction. They both felt it, the momentum shifting, the truth slipping away. Mariah stared at her reflection in the dark window. Bruised, tired, alone. She whispered to Aisha. Her voice was small. "What if they really can erase it?" Aisha had no answer. She sat beside Mariah in silence. The city lights glowed outside. Indifferent. Cold. Mariah felt hope crack, not break, but fracture. She had believed truth mattered. That evidence could overcome power. Now she was not sure. Judge Hart drove home that night. She thought about Mariah's face. The careful documentation dismissed too easily. She thought about her 30 years of neutrality, of procedure, of believing the system worked. But the system only worked for some, and she had been protecting that inequality by pretending not to see it. Judge Hart parked her car. She sat in darkness. Something had shifted in her. Uncomfortable. Necessary. She could no longer pretend neutrality was enough. A senior MP called Mariah to his office. His name was Gerald Haynes. He had been in Parliament for 23 years. "Sit down, Mariah," he said. His voice was gentle. Mariah sat. She felt tired. Wary. "I've been speaking with the Oversight Office," Haynes said. "They're prepared to offer a settlement." Mariah's chest tightened. "What kind of settlement?" "An apology without admission," Haynes said. "A promise to review procedures, and a chance for you to move forward." Mariah felt the temptation of relief. This could end. The scrutiny, the threats, the exhaustion. "Move forward means forget," Mariah said. "It means choosing your battles," Haynes said. "You've made your point. You've raised awareness. That's victory enough." Mariah stared at him. She understood what he was offering. Comfort in exchange for silence. "How many people accepted that offer before me?" Mariah asked. Haynes looked uncomfortable. "That's not relevant," he said. "It's completely relevant," Mariah said. "This is how it happens. One person at a time. Bought into silence." She stood. She felt shame at having considered it, even for a moment. "I'm not accepting," she said. Haynes sighed. He looked disappointed, or maybe relieved. "Then I hope you're prepared for what comes next," he said. Mariah left his office. Aisha was waiting outside. "He offered a settlement," Mariah said. "I know," Aisha said. "I advised him against it." They walked in silence. Finally, Aisha spoke. Her voice was raw. "I'm scared for you," she said. Mariah stopped. She looked at her chief of staff, her friend, her partner in this fight. "I'm scared too," Mariah said. It was the first time she had admitted it aloud. Fear had been living inside her for weeks, growing, consuming. "Maybe we should consider it," Aisha said quietly. Mariah felt their partnership crack, not from betrayal, from honesty. "You think I should accept?" Mariah asked. I think you've sacrificed enough, Aisha said. I think this is costing you everything, and I don't know if winning is possible. Mariah's eyes filled. She blinked the tears back. Then what was it all for? She asked. Aisha had no answer. They stood in the corridor, two women exhausted by fighting. That evening, Ethan tried to access additional equipment logs. His permissions were revoked. The screen flashed. Access denied. His supervisor appeared behind him. Ethan, he said. His voice was kind, warning. Good men don't get involved. Ethan closed the program. He felt shame burn through him. He went home. He sat in his apartment. He stared at the wall. Mrs. Delaney was gone. Mariah was losing, and he had done nothing but hide. Mariah returned to her office. She found another message slipped under her door, a single sentence. You can't win. She crumpled it. She threw it in the trash. Then she stood in her dim kitchen. She looked at her reflection in the window. Bruised, tired, alone. She felt utterly isolated, abandoned by allies, dismissed by systems, threatened by shadows. For the first time, she wondered if surrender was wisdom rather than weakness. Mariah called Pastor Samuel Reed. Her voice was breaking. I don't know if I can do this anymore, she said. Come to the church, Pastor Reed said. She drove through dark streets. The city felt hostile, watching. Pastor Reed met her in the empty hall. Chairs sat in neat rows, silent witnesses. I've been thinking about accepting the settlement, Mariah said. Pastor Reed nodded. He did not look surprised. Tell me why, he said. Because I'm tired, Mariah said. Tired of being punished for insisting I matter. Tired of watching good people suffer because they helped me. Her voice broke. Tears came finally. Hot. Honest. Mrs. Delaney is gone because of me, Mariah said. Ethan lost his position because of me, and I can't even prove what happened. Pastor Reed let her cry. He did not offer false comfort. He waited. Finally, Mariah wiped her eyes. I'm not wrong, she said, but being right doesn't seem to matter. Pastor Reed's voice was gentle. What kind of world do you want for the next woman who walks into that courthouse? He asked. The question settled in Mariah's chest. Heavy. True. She thought about all the women before her, all the people who had been struck, threatened, silenced, who had accepted harm because fighting back cost too much. I want a world where she's believed, Mariah said. Then you finish this, Pastor Reed said. Not for victory, for refusal. Refusal to let them erase her too. Mariah felt strength shift shape. Less about winning, more about refusing to abandon others to the same humiliation. Her phone rang. Lila Park. I found something, Lila said. Sealed disciplinary records. Doherty has 3 formal complaints, all buried, all involving intimidation. Mariah's breath caught. Can you access them? Not legally, Lila said, but someone inside the courthouse could confirm them, if they dared. Mariah thought about Ethan, isolated in the archives, punished for one note. I might know someone, Mariah said. She thanked Pastor Reed. She drove back to the city with tears drying on her face. She was not surrendering, not yet. She called Aisha. We finished this, Mariah said, on the record. Aisha's voice was quiet, relieved. Okay, she said. How? We find Ethan, Mariah said, and we ask him to choose. Ethan showed up at Aisha's office after hours. He was pale, sleepless. He carried a folder. Aisha called Mariah. She arrived 20 minutes later. Ethan sat across from them. His hands shook. I copied the access logs, he said. All of them. Not just the day of the slap. 3 months' worth. He opened the folder. Pages of data, timestamps, user IDs, system entries. There's a pattern, Ethan said. Camera malfunctions happen when Dougherty's unit makes arrests. Always convenient, always untraceable. Mariah felt her heart pound. This was not one incident. This was systematic. "Why are you bringing this now?" Mariah asked. Ethan looked at her. His eyes were red, exhausted. "Because I stayed silent," he said. "I watched you get hit. I watched them erase it. I watched Mrs. Delaney disappear, and I told myself rules were safer than morality." His voice broke. The confession made him sound older, worn. "I was wrong," he said, "and I'm tired of being a coward." Mariah listened without contempt. She recognized something in him. Shame transforming into courage. "This will cost you everything," Aisha said. "I know," Ethan said. "They'll destroy your career," Mariah said. "I know," Ethan said. "Then why?" Mariah asked. Ethan looked at his hands. They were still shaking. "Because if I don't," he said, "I can't live with who I am." Mariah felt something shift. Redemption often began with shame. They worked through the night, tracing access logs to a small circle of courthouse staff, all connected to Dougherty's union contact. The pattern was clear, deliberate, undeniable. "We present this at the next session," Aisha said. "They'll ask how we got it," Mariah said. "I'll testify," Ethan said. "Openly. I'll explain everything." Mariah looked at him. This young man who had spent years following rules, who had believed obedience was safety. "You're sure?" she asked. "No," Ethan said. His voice was steady. "But I'm doing it anyway." They prepared the testimony together. Mariah asked questions. Ethan answered. They anticipated attacks, prepared defenses. At 3 in the morning, Aisha made coffee. They sat in her office, exhausted, determined. "This changes everything," Aisha said. "Or nothing," Mariah said. "They might dismiss him too." "Then we make sure they can't," Aisha said. Ethan left at dawn. He walked to his car through empty streets. He felt terrified and free. He had crossed a line. There was no going back. Mariah watched him go. She felt protective, responsible. This man was risking everything for truth. She would not let that sacrifice be wasted. Aisha touched her shoulder. "We have a chance now," she said. Mariah nodded. She felt hope return. Fragile, tentative, but real. The resumed inquiry drew cameras and public attention. The room felt different, charged, expectant. Mariah entered with Aisha and Ethan. Reporters shouted questions. She did not answer. She walked with measured steps. Inside, Dougherty sat with his lawyers. He looked confident, almost bored. He glanced at Ethan. His eyes narrowed slightly. The inquiry chair called the session to order. "Ms. Bennett," he said, "you requested additional time to present evidence." "Yes," Mariah said. "I'd like to call a witness." "Proceed," the chair said. Ethan stood. He walked to the witness chair. His legs felt unsteady. "State your name and position," the chair said. "Ethan Cole," he said. "Court clerk, currently assigned to archives." Mariah questioned him carefully, methodically. She walked him through his role, his access, what he had witnessed. "Did you observe anything unusual regarding the camera system?" Mariah asked. "Yes," Ethan said. His voice was quiet but clear. He described the access logs, the pattern of malfunctions, the discrepancies between maintenance reports and actual system use. Dougherty's lawyer objected. The chair overruled. Mariah presented the printed logs, each page documented, highlighted, explained. "These logs show camera malfunctions coinciding with 14 arrests over 3 months, Mariah said, "all involving Sergeant Dougherty's unit." The room went quiet. People leaned forward. The chair studied the documents. Judge Eleanor Hart sat in the back row. She could no longer pretend neutrality was harmless. She demanded the record include the access logs officially. "These are material to the inquiry," Judge Hart said. Her voice was firm. The chair hesitated, then nodded. Lila Park published her article that afternoon. Carefully sourced. Precise. She framed the issue as institutional integrity rather than personal conflict. Public focus shifted. Comments changed. "This is bigger than one incident. We need real investigation. The pattern is clear." Mariah felt momentum change. Not triumph, but possibility. The first crack in a wall. Dougherty's turn came. His lawyer asked soft questions. Dougherty answered smoothly. Too smoothly. "I followed protocol," Dougherty said. "Always." Mariah stood for cross-examination. She asked about specific dates, specific arrests, specific camera failures. Dougherty answered quickly, confidently. He trusted his charm. Then Mariah asked about a minor detail, an innocuous phrase he had used in an earlier statement. "You said you notified technical staff about the malfunction," Mariah said. "What time was that?" "Around 9:30, Dougherty said. Mariah showed him the access log. "But the system log shows tampering at 8:45, she said, "before you claimed to notice any malfunction." Dougherty's jaw tightened. He had revealed knowledge he should not have had, unless he had been involved in the tampering. The room went silent. Physical. Heavy. Judge Hart leaned forward. She pressed the point. "Sergeant Dougherty," she said, "how did you know about the malfunction before it was logged?" Dougherty's face went red, then pale. He looked at his lawyer. I must have misremembered the time," he said. But the correction revealed the lie. Everyone heard it collapse. Mariah did not gloat. She simply asked one final question. "Did you or did you not instruct someone to disable the camera system before court that morning?" Dougherty hesitated. The silence stretched. "No," he said finally, but his voice was weak, uncertain. No one believed him. The inquiry reconvened the next day. Mariah presented her complete chain of evidence: Ethan's testimony, access log timestamps, maintenance reports, contradictions between Dougherty's statements and official procedure, each piece built on the last, careful, methodical, undeniable. Dougherty's lawyer tried to discredit Ethan. He called him disgruntled, biased, seeking attention. But Ethan answered calmly. He explained his role, his access, his motivation. "I'm here because I witnessed corruption," Ethan said, "and I chose truth over comfort." His voice was steady. The room listened. Dougherty attempted to intimidate Ethan with a stare. Hard, cold, the kind of look that had silenced witnesses before. But 20 people were watching. Cameras were recording. Intimidation looked smaller under light. Ethan held his gaze. He did not look away. Dougherty broke first. Judge Hart questioned Dougherty directly. She asked about the phrase again, the timing discrepancy. "You said you notified technical staff at 9:30, Judge Hart said, "but you also said you were responding to security concerns. Which prompted which?" Dougherty fumbled. His confidence cracked. "The concerns and the malfunction were separate," he said. "But both happened that morning?" Judge Hart asked. "Yes," Dougherty said. "At what times exactly?" Dougherty hesitated. He looked at his notes. He corrected himself twice. Each correction revealed knowledge he should not have possessed. Unless he had orchestrated both. The room felt the shift, truth becoming irreversible. Mariah stood for final questions. Her voice was calm, surgical. "Sergeant Dougherty," she said, "you've testified that you acted within protocol, that the camera malfunction was coincidental, that my presence in the courtroom justified your response." "Yes," Dougherty said. Then explain this, Mariah said. She presented the maintenance report. This shows the camera system was manually disabled, not malfunctioned. Disabled. Doherty's face went pale. I don't know anything about that, he said. The access code used belongs to your union representative, Mariah said, who had no reason to access the system unless instructed. Silence. Heavy. Damning. Doherty had two choices: admit involvement or claim ignorance that made him look incompetent. He chose the third option. Anger. This is a witch hunt, he said. His voice was loud. I've served for 20 years. I've been decorated, and you're destroying my reputation over one moment. Mariah did not flinch. One moment, she said, or a pattern spanning years. She presented Lila's findings: sealed complaints, settlements, intimidation reports. The inquiry chair looked shaken. He had expected a simple dismissal. Instead, he was witnessing systematic corruption. We'll need to expand this inquiry, the chair said quietly. Doherty stood. His face was red. This is outrageous, he said. Sit down, Sergeant, Judge Hart said. Her voice was sharp. Doherty sat, deflated, exposed. Mariah returned to her seat. She felt exhaustion and vindication at once. The room was silent, the kind of silence that precedes truth becoming history. She had not knocked him out with violence. She had knocked him out with truth, evidence, precision. And everyone had watched. 2 weeks later, the Oversight Board announced its findings. Doherty was suspended pending formal criminal proceedings. His unit would undergo comprehensive review. Courthouse security protocols would be reformed. Independent oversight would be implemented. Camera systems would be audited. The statement was careful, legal, but it acknowledged failure, harm, the need for change. Mariah stood outside Parliament. Cameras surrounded her. She read a brief statement. This was never about revenge, she said. It was about accountability, about ensuring no one else is struck and then erased. She spoke with restraint, compassion. She insisted reform protected everyone: victims, honest officers, the integrity of law itself. Justice without cruelty is possible, she said, when we choose truth over comfort. Reporters asked if she felt vindicated. Mariah considered the question. I feel tired, she said honestly, but I also feel hope, that systems can change when people refuse to stay silent. Ethan was reassigned again, this time to a different courthouse. His reputation was damaged. Colleagues avoided him. He ate lunch alone. But Mariah met him outside one afternoon. She thanked him. Not as a hero, as a man who had finally chosen honesty. You gave up everything, Mariah said. I gained something too, Ethan said. Self-respect. His voice was quiet but certain. He walked away without looking back. Judge Eleanor Hart issued a written statement. It was brief, powerful. Procedural neutrality fails when dignity is violated, she wrote. Silence in the face of injustice is not impartiality. It is complicity. I regret my hesitation. I commit to vigilance. The paragraph was small, but it carried the weight of a lifetime, of a system acknowledging its own failure. Lila Park won an investigative journalism award. She dedicated it to Mrs. Delaney, wherever she was. Mrs. Delaney never reappeared. Mariah thought about her often, wondered if she was safe, hoped she had found peace somewhere. The guilt never fully disappeared. But Mariah channeled it into purpose. She proposed legislation, whistleblower protections, independent oversight, mandatory body cameras, small changes, incremental, but real. Pastor Reed called one evening. You did it, he said. We did it, Mariah said. All of us. She meant it. Ethan, Aisha, Lila, Judge Hart, Mrs. Delaney, even the protesters who had supported her. Justice was never one person. It was collective refusal to accept harm as normal. 3 months later, Mariah stood on the courthouse steps at dusk. The building looked different now. Less hostile, more accountable. Her jaw still ached sometimes, a phantom pain, reminder of what had been done. But she also felt steadiness in her heart, the knowledge that she had refused erasure, had insisted on dignity, had built truth brick by careful brick. A young black woman approached her, nervous, hopeful. "Ms. Bennett," she said, "I'm starting law school next month because of you." Mariah felt tears prick her eyes. She smiled. "Not because of me," she said. "Because of you. Your courage. Your choice." The woman nodded. She walked away stronger. Mariah stood alone on the steps. The sun was setting. Light turned golden. Soft. She thought about all the people who had been struck, silenced, erased. She thought about the ones who would come after her. Justice was not just a verdict. It was a refusal to let anyone be invisible again. Mariah descended the steps. She walked toward her car. Her jaw ached, her shoulders were tired, but her spine was straight. Her head was high. She had won something more than a case. She had restored dignity, hers and countless others. And that was enough.